Hi, my name is Guy, and
I'm Justin Evans. I'm a selectman here in Whitman.
you grew up in Whitman.
I did, yeah. I grew up in Whitman. I went to Whitman-Hanson, class of 2008, so it's been a little while. And then my wife and I moved back here in 2017.
Your wife, she was born in Whitman too?
She was in Hanson.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we met in high school and got married, well, dated in college and got married after.
Nice. So like the town just merged.
Yeah.
Like in high school, what were your interests? Or did you think you're going to be, like this is the career path that you...
No, definitely not. In high school, I was in the drama club, but I always wanted to be backstage. I always wanted to do stage crew. I was an assistant stage manager. I was the stage manager for one play, but they were always short guys, so they always talked me into being on stage.
Yeah.
And in front of the audience. But I did, robotics club. I did the recycling club, Seek, chess club. So I was a bit of a nerd.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, chess were pretty fun. So it's like chess that inspired you, like, let me strategize.
Yeah. Maybe you could say that.
So what was like the major that you focused on college?
So I went to Northeastern when I graduated and studied mechanical engineering. I wanted to, kind of following up on my recycling club environmental background that I'd begun building in high school, I wanted to work in clean energy. So I studied mechanical engineering and got a job afterwards at a biofuel startup.
What was the biofuel startup? Like, what did you do there?
So I was a design engineer building, they were called photobioreactors.
Yeah.
It looked like big pool floats with algae pumping through it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it like, because I see like I know there's like those algae pools, like different colors once they turn it a different color on, it's like a weird documentary I watched like ages ago. But is it like that, or is it something completely different?
They didn't change colors, so yeah, we had a couple of, this is fun, I love talking about this stuff. Yeah. We had a couple of demo facility in Texas and a pilot plant in Texas and a demo facility in New Mexico. And I worked at the lab in Bedford. And our algae, it was really cyanobacteria. It was genetically modified to produce ethanol.
Oh, okay.
So it would eat, there would be a chemical trigger, and instead of producing food for itself, it would start producing ethanol for fuel.
Nice. So it's like, is it clean, renewable?
It would be carbon neutral. So you'd take up the carbon dioxide from something, extract it from somewhere else, power plant, gas flue or something, pump it into this liquid for feedstock for the algae, and then when you get the ethanol out, eventually it would be a fuel, you'd burn it, and you'd release that carbon dioxide weeks, months, years down the road.
I saw that you did, you got LED light bulb in Sussex Street. Was it?
So,
or working on that?
Yeah, we're jump ahead a couple of years.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. Back in Whitman, I was on the finance committee when we were pursuing LED light bulb retrofits for the streetlights. Mm-hmm. That was the old assistant town administrator, Lisa Green. That was one of her big projects at the time. And we were pursuing grants. Whitman's a green community. Mm-hmm. So we were able to pursue some grants through the state that would pay for the transfer. We changed a couple of contract rules with Verizon and National Grid, who own the poles. So we owned the streetlights, and it was saving the town. Last I checked, it was about $130,000 a year on combination electric bills from more efficient light bulbs and rental fees from National Grid and Verizon. And the total cost was completely paid back in only about, I think it was about 3 years.
Nice.
So by now we're making money on it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Throughout like high school, you did the environmental recycling club.
Yeah, Whitman-Hanson has a student environmental awareness club. It was actually really nice. I got to work with that club last year when they proposed a bylaw at town meeting to ban single-use plastic bags and styrofoam containers in town, which just took effect a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, so that's why everybody has a paper bag.
That's why they're all paper bags now.
I figured that like environmental, like because you say Whitman is a green community, so it's like, did that push you more towards being like, I want to be the selectman for this town, or it's like because like you were born and raised here, then it's like, let me better the community I'm from?
So I think I was a little bit. I really enjoyed a lot of the environmental, a lot of the opportunities that were available to towns in Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. And when I was on the finance committee, I started learning more about how the town actually ran those things. And Whitman, at the time, did not participate in a few environmental programs, a few grant programs, a few funded opportunities from the state that would give us more money for those kind of projects. So that was kind of when I decided, I can change this if I run for the seat on the Board of Selectmen and advocate for some of these changes.
So how does that work? Like if you were to break it down for...
break down running or break down some of the
break down, like,
programs?
how does Whitman, local politics work?
Whitman is a open town meeting government. That means that any citizen in Whitman annually or whenever we call a special town meeting gets to come and act as the legislature for the town. So they're the ones that appropriate the funds, approve any contracts greater than 3 years, and a bunch of other functions that aren't written to either the selectman, the town administrator, or any other function in town. After the legislative branch being town meeting, every citizen in town, there's the executive branch, which is the Board of Selectmen. And we act as the town's executive. We appoint a chief municipal officer, which for us is the town administrator, to oversee the day-to-day. But any decisions outside of basic operations has to come to us. And then to continue the comparison, I think our judicial branch would be like the Attorney General or something along those lines, handled by the Commonwealth.
How many times is this you're running for selectmen?
So I ran in 2019 for the first time. We served 3-year terms, so I'm up again this year.
Nice. So how did it go the first time? Like how did it start? Like how did you this is something I really need to do? Because you mentioned you saw a point where you could help the community better. Lastly, is what made you want to do this again?
Being on the finance committee, there were limits to. I was doing that as kind of a thing to do at night in Whitman to keep myself busy to learn more about local politics. And after 2 years there, I thought if I want to change some policies in town, you got to get on the policy setting board, which is the Board of Selectmen. So I, took out papers. It was there were 2 candidates up for re-election at the time, and I ran against both of them. And the way it turned out, Brian Bezanson won re-election, but I topped the ticket. So I was the candidate that received the most votes. I think I got, I'm gonna butcher it if I try to remember, but I got more than any of the other candidates as a first-time candidate, which was huge.
Nice.
And the incumbent that I defeated is now the town manager in Abington. So I think everything worked out pretty well. For everybody.
So what's pushing you to run again?
A lot of the things that I wanted to see done kind of got derailed by COVID. Whitman's made a lot of progress in the last couple of years. We did join the Community Preservation Act. We set up the Community Preservation Committee, but we haven't started funding projects through that. We've become a municipal vulnerability preparedness town, an MVP. We got the planning grant, laid out our plan, but we haven't yet funded any projects with it. So that's one of those state climate preparedness program things. And so I'd like to see, now that I've done all of this work to put all the building blocks in place, I want to actually see them do stuff. I want to follow the projects through.
What does it mean to be I believe you shortened it to MVP. What does it mean to, for your town to be that?
So this was a program that Governor Baker put together, I don't remember how long ago, not that long ago. And he actually mentioned it in his State of the Commonwealth recently that I think it's 90-something% of communities have since joined. It was a pool of money for any town to opt into to develop a plan looking at their community and how climate change is going to affect them. So for a town like Whitman, we worked with the Old Colony Planning Council based out of Brockton. And they took a look at our community and said, you've got to worry about increased windstorms, more potentially devastating blizzards and floods. You'll have occasional heat waves. We mentioned pandemics because we were in the middle of one. And looking at all of that stuff, what's it going to do to the town? We highlighted there are 2 dams in town that are both pretty old. And if we have increased flooding from maybe longer droughts, but then really strong rainstorms in a short period of time, you'd tend to have dams overtopping. And just using Hobart's Pond as an example, the dam at the end of that, it would flood downhill into South Ave toward Franklin Street. And you'd lose, it'd be a lot of damage to a lot of buildings. If we have prolonged, windstorms would tend to cause prolonged blackouts. We've seen that in the last couple of years. So doing this planning process, we were able to identify our vulnerabilities. And now that work is done, we can start applying to more state grants that would do things like provide generators to maybe the library, which would be an emergency cooling or heating center if power were out in town.
Yeah.
We can look at improving water infrastructure so that if the dam overtops or if we have flooding elsewhere in town, we can handle it. We know where the water is going to go. We can redirect it somewhere. Because a lot of this, our sewer system was put in the 70s or 80s. A lot of this stuff, we know more about how it's going to work now than we did back then.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is the kind of stuff that I get really excited about in local government, and nobody asks me about.
Yeah, because I didn't realize the sewers were that old.
Actually, if I can stop you there, so we have a sewer force main project that we're currently beginning. It was funded last year at town meeting to replace the primary feed of our sewer system that takes everything to Brockton to the sewer treatment plant. We own the entire line from here to the treatment plant.
Nice.
And we've town meeting appropriated or authorized the borrowing for the DPW to replace that line. It's time. We've had a couple of breaks in the last couple of years, and each one of those breaks cost the town of Whitman about $500,000 to repair. So for us to spend,
like hemorrhage.
Yeah, it's a lot. And those were pretty easy to repair breaks. We're worried about some of the other spots in the middle that might be more difficult to get at. Would potentially Brockton has a capped landfill that we run very close to. If there were a break there, it would be much more money. So thankfully, the citizens of Whitman allowed us to borrow the money to repair that. Sewer rates are I think the commissioners have already voted to increase sewer rates to pay for that bond. So I'll hear that, but it's time to start fixing some of these aging infrastructure projects.
Whitman, they own most of their utilities, like when it comes to lights and sewers and like the grid line. Is that owned by Whitman, or is it like?
So Whitman owns our water and sewer. That's our only municipal utility in town. Mm-hmm. We do own the street lights on the poles, but we don't own anything in between.
A few months back, when that blizzard hit, we had long sessions of blackouts.
Yeah.
And it was kind of insane because when I believe the gas station by where the old Mary Lou's used to be.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the only gas station that was open, and there was like a line of cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like a bit of surreal.
Yeah, I had some family text threads going on, like to see where the gas stations are open, and apparently it was Holbrook or Avon. You'd have to go inland away from the power outages.
The thing I was happy about was we had power before some places in Abington. So when we had power back, and then we drove to Abington and drove further, and we saw everyone was blackout.
Still.
Yeah, it looked like something from a Twilight movie.
Yeah, Whitman's town administrator lives in Scituate, and Whitman got power back before he did. So he was coming into the office to do anything.
Yeah, I should have lived here.
Yeah.
Speaking of living in Whitman, how are you liking living in Whitman?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it was such a nice place to grow up. It's why that my wife and I moved back here in 2017. Stayed with my parents for a few months to save up and buy a house, and in early 2018 we were able to buy the house we live in now.
Nice, congratulations.
Thanks.
I believe that's your...
VoteJustinEvans.com. Yeah, thanks for the plug.
Yeah. So I believe there's a line that said, you moved back to Whitman. Was it you moved back to Whitman because you thought it was the best place to plant your roots?
Yeah, it's a good place to raise a family.
Yeah. So how's that going, family-wise?
Well, it's funny. I haven't said this in any public meetings yet, but my wife and I are expecting a baby in May.
Nice. Congrats.
So it's, things are moving along there.
Thank you for the exclusive.
Yeah, there you go. You get to break the news.
Yeah. Did you ever thought of growing up here, you would live in other cities or other countries or?
I thought, so I left Whitman to go to college in Boston. Finished college, moved to Somerville, moved to Quincy, and thought I was going to stay in and around the city. And then just kind of getting older, you're like, I miss the suburbs. It's just, I don't need traffic everywhere. I don't need noise all night.
Boston drivers.
Yeah. I don't need to be able to walk to the bars in Somerville.
Yeah.
I can go home and relax.
Yeah. So how's living in Somerville? How's that experience?
It was really fun in my early 20s.
Yeah.
You can walk to the T, take it downtown. I was biking to work for a little while. So it's a really nice, active place. I think I was right outside of Ball Square, which I think is one of the youngest census tracts in the state. Mm-hmm. So you're just surrounded by people your own age. It was like still being in college.
Oh, nice.
But now in my early 30s, not really looking to to still be in college.
Yeah. So what was your college experience like? Like being in college and the things that you enjoyed the most, the least?
It was really nice. So I went to Northeastern. I think I said earlier, graduated in 2008. So right at the peak of the Great Recession. And the thing about Northeastern, I lucked into it. It wasn't my first choice school. But because they have a co-op program, I was pretty much guaranteed a job afterwards, which for people going to college in 2009, 2010 was not a given.
Still now.
Still not a given now, but it was tough back then.
Yeah.
And so I worked 3 co-ops while I was there. Northeastern sets it up as a 5-year program for most majors. I went for a year and a half, then 6 months of co-op, 6 months of classes, 6 months of co-op, and you just alternate until you graduate at that point.
You had the job experience while in college. That's like a
and you get paid.
Thing. Yeah, getting paid
most
too.
Most of them get paid. I won't. I was an engineer too, so my experience might be a little. Well, yeah. I think other majors may have different experiences with that, with getting paid.
Because like I'm 22 right now. I'm in college, but I'm kind of doing this. Like one semester I'm in college, and then I kind of trying to figure out what I really want in life. Yeah. And then go back to college. So I'm kind of doing that, but like I'm kind of like taking gaps between my time in college. Yeah. Yeah. So, because I have the same fear of like when I graduate, I was like, oh, I have a degree. I don't know what to do. Right. So it's like.
It's good to figure out. Yeah, it's good to know. That was probably the benefit of the co-op program is you go, you kind of experience things. My first co-op, I didn't love the job. And I was like, do I really want to do this? Is it something I want to do for the rest of my life? And then my second co-op was in energy. It wasn't in necessarily clean energy. Well, it was energy reduction, lighting audits, sort of energy auditing. And it was like, all right, I'm on the right track now. And then my third co-op was at the job that I eventually got full-time afterwards.
Nice.
Doing biofuels. So I found that, I was like, yep, this is where I want to be.
It's kind of nice. You get to build rapport with your coworkers or soon-to-be coworkers. So you were like a fresh face. It's all about like people who like leave college and just coming out. Like, what are like the opportunities that someone fresh out of college can experience in Whitman?
So Whitman has been, it's different, yeah. It's a great place for young families. It's a great place for seniors. It's a great place for kids with the park. But yeah, for that middle age group, you do hear some. We've got our demographic trends are very old and very young. Yeah. And there's kind of a lull in the middle, and people tend to leave. Yeah. But Whitman, I think the last couple of years we've seen the tone of town changing a little bit. Downtown's been growing. We've added, I like to brag about this, but we've added a brewery and a new neat coffee shop in the middle of town. So there's more, there's more, I guess, activities to start doing, places to go out. A couple of really nice restaurants in the center now.
Oh yeah, because when I moved here in 2015, and the Whitman in 2015 and the Whitman in 2022 is vastly
very different.
Yeah. And it was kind of nice. I got to see everything change. Yeah. Some of my friends, when I come and bring them to Whitman, I'm like, this place used to be this. This used to be a Mary Lou's. Now it's a regular coffee shop. Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny. That's something that, so I've started doing that too. Yeah. This is how the town's changed. But then the people that I serve in the Board of Selectmen with are much older than me. And they'll do the same thing with stuff that hasn't been here for 30, 40 years and just blows my mind.
Yeah. For a while, I believe before I decided on making this is not the first show that I wanted to do, because I believe the first show, I don't know if I pitched it to Ryan. It was learn about the history of the town.
Oh, cool.
And I believe at the time they were finding old pieces of the toll house bricks underneath people's properties.
Oh, cool.
And that was kind of and I was kind of fascinated with that. And I was kind of so I'm pretty sure I still have the notebook. It has a bunch of old stuff. I love history. Yeah. So yeah.
You really, if you want to explore that, you should talk to Marie Layler, who's the chairman of the Whitman Historical Commission. She will tell you all about the history of the toll house, but even she loves Hobart's Bell Foundry, which it's some of the earliest bells made in the United States were made in Whitman. And Paul Revere learned how to make bells here.
Really?
And those, and Hobart bells were the standard for a while.
Oh, yeah. Whitman is like kind of like it's a small town. Like majority of like people in Massachusetts don't really know it exists. Yeah. Because like I remember when I was like, we're moving to Whitman, and my first expression was like, where where is that, at a state? But it's like, nah, you still be able to talk to your friends and they can come over. But it's gonna be all the way in the South Shore.
Yep.
And so that was a big move. But I got to learn like there's a lot of firsts in Whitman.
Well, yeah, there were a lot of firsts in Whitman.
Yeah, which is kind of like give like a little quirk of a town. It's like, if you love history, then you're absolutely gonna love it. Like I remember the first time I was jogging and there's like the boulders along the side of the road, and it has like a little history book, so you get to like live in history. It's
a show that's been pitched to WHCA a couple of times. I think the Rock Tour for Whitman to go. Yeah.
Yeah, if we're ever done content, I know what to do. Yeah. What's like your best tidbit of history in Whitman, or like a place that you really love as a child growing up in Whitman that's no longer here that you can like homage, I guess?
Oh, interesting. Well, so my favorite place still is the park. The town park has been, through COVID, I've been there almost every day with the dog, and it's a great outdoor space. It's been a lot more crowded the last couple of years than it was before, but even as a kid, I loved that. It's, when I was a teenager, my parents lived on Old Colony Way, so it was a little over a mile to walk there, but like I could meet up with friends and just walk to the town park and we could hang out. Yeah. It's just a really nice like center of the community location.
I feel like before we have cars, we can walk from one edge of Whitman back. Now that I drive, I don't really do that anymore.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's like even going like I live like in like Old South, like around that area. Yeah. Like even going to Regal, which is like
not that far.
I was like, I'll get the car.
Yep. Yeah. When I first got the job I have now, I would walk to the train. And it's like, it's, I don't know, a little over a mile, like a 20-minute walk in the morning. It's really nice, straight down South Ave. And then I realized I'd rather have, 15 of those minutes back. Yeah. Started driving. Got cold out. Yeah, was a big part of it.
I saw that while I was knowing more about you. Yeah. I saw you were like a major Game of Thrones fan.
You went deep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I kind of like spent a good bit. So I was like, let me see who I'm bringing along. Yeah. And so there's a fun question that we can wrap up the show with. Okay. Between Littlefinger and Tyrion, which one do you think is your favorite politician?
Oh, interesting. That is a good question.
And why?
Yeah, I gotta say Tyrion, because it just seems like he seems to be in it for the right reasons, and Littlefinger doesn't. Yeah. And you can see Tyrion trying to make the world a better place. He's definitely a little selfish and sometimes looking out for himself. Yeah. But Littlefinger is always selfish and always looking out for himself. And he's just not always honest about why he's doing things, I think.
Thank you, Justin Evans, for coming on the show.
That was my pleasure.
And for everyone viewing, we'll catch you next time.